I say this to Congress, we have to stand up to Putin. Send me a bipartisan national security bill. History is literally watching. History is watching. If the United States walks away, it will put Ukraine at risk. Europe is at risk. The free world will be at risk, emboldening others to do what they wish to do us harm. My message to President Putin, who I've known for a long time, is simple. We will not walk away. We will not bow down. I will not bow down. In a literal sense, history is watching. History is watching.
This is my video update on this Friday, midday, March the 8th. Let's talk about some news. And we have to start things off with the State of the Union from President Joe Biden. He made it. He made it through the entire State of the Union address without any freezes or meltdowns or really big gaffes. He did make it through the entire scripted speech, but it was dark. It was dark, man. That was one dark speech. That was one dark State of the Union. It was full dark Brandon. So whatever they pumped him up with to get him through the State of the Union, it really brought out the dark Brandon in Biden, didn't it? It was a pretty dark speech, my God. And it was more of a campaign speech than anything else. It wasn't really a State of the Union as much as it was a campaign speech with a whole lot of lies. I mean, I lost track of all the lies that he was saying during the State of the Union address. It was lies from the beginning all the way until the end of the speech. Anyway, here is the title from Zero Hedge. President Biden delivers the darkest, most un-American speech given by a president. Having successfully raged, ranted, lied, and yelled through the State of the Union, President Biden can go back to the crypt now. Whatever they gave Biden, every American man, woman, and the other should be allowed to take it, though it seems the cocktail brings out dark Brandon. That's a pretty good couple of opening paragraphs from Zero Hedge. Yeah, whatever they gave Biden, give me some of that. I'm telling you. Wow. Anyway, you know, the technique that they used to get Biden through the State of the Union wasn't only focused on a cocktail of something that they gave him. They also used a lot of clapping, a lot of applause, standing ovations. It seemed that after every 15 to 30 seconds, the Democrats were standing up and applauding. And it was very coordinated. Kamala Harris must have been given the orders or rehearsed to stand up every 15 to 30 seconds. And that seemed to be the cue for the Democrats to then stand up and applaud every 15 to 30 seconds. This was very rehearsed. The clapping, the standing ovations, it was very rehearsed, and it was done in order to eat up time. I think it was done so that Biden wasn't having to speak for a full hour. He was allowed to take 15-second pauses in between his script reading. And it helped Biden get through the speech, but it also gave the illusion that what Biden was saying was factual, So it was an interesting technique and trick that they used. I mean, in the State of the Unions, yes, there is a lot of clapping and standing ovations, but not this many. I mean, it seemed like every 10 to 15 seconds, the Democrats were standing up and clapping, and the long clap. It wasn't like just 2 seconds. Hey, it was like a standing ovation. For every 15 seconds that Biden spoke, there was a 15-second standing ovation, and it happened throughout the entire speech. Whatever Biden said, they were standing up and clapping. I'm President Joe Biden. They were standing up and clapping. The U.S. is doing great. They were standing up and clapping. I will not bow down to Putin. They were standing up and clapping. I'm going to build a port in Gaza to deliver food, standing up and clapping. And so I mean, it was a lot of magic tricks and illusions. I'm telling you. I wonder if people are gonna buy it. I wonder if people actually bought the stuff that Biden was saying. So look, there were small gaffes in this speech, but nothing huge. I think probably the biggest gaffe that Biden made was when he referred to Laken Riley as Lincoln Riley. So Marjorie Taylor Greene was in attendance, and she was saying, "Say her name, say her name." Laken Riley, and Biden was like Lincoln Riley, which just shows that Biden has no idea what's going on or what happened um, to Laken Riley. So he said Lincoln Riley. I think that was his biggest, most significant mess up of the evening. But he did say some other pretty out there stuff. He started to talk about how Americans, or at least the wealthy, should pay their taxes. Everyone should pay their taxes, forgetting about the mess that Hunter Biden is in. I'm like, he's going through his speech saying everyone should pay their taxes. The wealthy should pay their taxes. If everyone pays their taxes, then America's going to be great. And I'm just like, Hunter Biden, hello, Hunter Biden. Let's see. He was talking about the cost of medicine, and he actually mentioned that this was a mess up. He actually was naming countries that you could travel to and get cheap medicine, and he was saying you can go to Berlin or Paris, and then he says you could go to Moscow, and then he corrected himself. He's like, "Oh crap! Did I just say that you could get cheap medicine in Moscow?" he tried to correct himself. He did all right correcting himself, but that was a mess up as well. And then he talked about money to Ukraine. He talked about how the U.S. is not going to bow down to Putin, and the U.S. is not going to walk away from Putin. Let me see if I have his exact quote. If the United States walks away, it will put Ukraine at risk. My message to President Putin, who I've known for a long time, is simple. We will not walk away. We will not bow down. I will not bow down. And he was in full Dark Brandon mode as he was delivering these lines. Um, I will not bow down. I was watching him say these lines, and I was just thinking, yeah, you're probably not going to bow down, Biden, but you're definitely going to to walk away. That's for sure. You may not bow down, but you'll run away. But yeah, that was it. I mean, he didn't really talk that much about foreign policy, to be quite honest. He didn't really talk much about anything. I mean, I really don't understand what exactly this State of the Union was trying to say. It didn't really have an overarching message. So let's talk about some other news here. And there was a very strange message, a warning issued by the U.S. Embassy in Moscow yesterday. The embassy is monitoring, the U.S. Embassy in Moscow is monitoring reports that extremists have imminent plans to attack large gatherings in Moscow, including concerts and U.S. citizens should be advised to avoid large gatherings for the next 48 hours. A strange warning, a strange message. I think we're going to get a lot of these types of warnings and messages from the collective West over the next couple of weeks. I believe the elections in Russia are next week. I think either the 16th or the 17th, I want to say. But I think up until the elections, we're going to get a lot of warnings and messages from the collective West. Travel advisories. I believe Germany issued a warning yesterday as well for Germans to not travel to Russia because it's dangerous. And so you also have this warning from the U.S. Embassy. But maybe it is something. Maybe something's about to go down. We haven't had any statements from the Russian Foreign Ministry about any threats or anything like that. But an interesting message from the U.S. Embassy in Moscow. In Ukraine, Zelensky announced that Zaluzhny is going to be the ambassador for the UK, or he would like Zaluzhny to be the ambassador to the UK. Interesting. That was an interesting development. What about Reznikov, the one-time defense minister? What happened to Reznikov? I thought he was the ambassador to the UK. It's like everyone that Ukraine wants to, or that the Zelensky regime wants to get rid of, they send them to the UK to be ambassador in the UK. Reznikov, you've been caught stealing hundreds of millions of dollars in defense deals. It's time to be ambassador to the UK. And let's go this way. And Zelensky wants to get rid of Zaluzhny, ambassador to the UK. How many ambassadors are they going to have in the UK from Ukraine? I don't know. But the story, at least Zelensky is saying that the story is Zaluzhny. This is what Zelensky is claiming. Zaluzhny asked to be sent to the UK as ambassador. That's Zelensky's take on things. But the Telegram channel Resident, which from what I understand is a good Telegram channel, it's a good news source for the Ukraine side of things, but they're very pro Zaluzhny. They're saying that no, Zaluzhny has not yet accepted the appointment as ambassador to the UK, and his team, his inner circle, is examining this move from Zelensky, which is obviously meant to get rid of Zaluzhny, because there was actually a poll that came out a couple of days ago, and it posed the question to people in Ukraine: if you were to vote for a presidential vote between Zelensky and Zaluzhny, who would you pick? And Zaluzhny trounced Zelensky in this poll. So obviously, Zelensky wants to get rid of Zaluzhny because he's probably the biggest threat to his power. But the Telegram channel Resident, let me read you what they are saying. Our sources close to Zaluzhny said that the ex-commander-in-chief will, one of these days, give a public response to Zelensky's proposal to become ambassador to Britain. At the moment, there is no final decision yet. Zaluzhny yesterday gathered his inner circle and they analyzed possible actions and also discussed a folder from Yermak, which contains criminal cases against the former commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Ukraine. Isn't that interesting? So Yermak, Zelensky's entertainment lawyer, who is now said to be the man that actually runs the country, the man behind the clown puppet comedian, according to this Telegram channel Resident, which is a very reliable Telegram channel for the most part, that he gave Zaluzhny a folder of all the crimes that they're going to throw at Zaluzhny. He gave Zaluzhny a folder of all the crimes that they're going to throw at him, unless he goes away to the UK. I guess that's the deal that they're giving Zaluzhny. disappear, go to the UK. You'll be ambassador along with Reznikov, and leave Ukraine. Leave us alone. Otherwise, if you decide to stay in Ukraine, we're going to charge you with all of these things. That's how it looks if you go by residents reporting. So that is an interesting development. Zelensky, he's afraid. He's afraid of regime change. He's getting very nervous about regime change, and he's very nervous about Zelensky, Poroshenko, Klitschko. Those are the three guys that are aligned to potentially remove Zelensky. So Macron is saying a whole lot of crazy stuff these days. Little Napoleon is talking a whole lot of smack. And yesterday, according to reports out of France, Macron held a meeting with all of the political party leaders in France, and they talked about Project Ukraine. And according to the reports coming out of France, Macron told all of the political leaders in attendance that when it comes to Project Ukraine and dealing with Russia, there are no red lines and no limitations. That is what Macron allegedly said at this meeting. Macron called the opposition leaders to the Élysée Palace to discuss France's support for Ukraine, BFM TV reported on Thursday. After more than 3 hours of discussion, no consensus was reached. According to the outlet, the president said he would abide by no limitations to aiding Kiev and does not consider that an escalation, but a proportionate response by Paris to Moscow's actions. A proportionate response by Paris to Moscow's actions. Did I miss something? And France is at war with Russia? Did I miss something in the news which announced that France is at war with Russia? Because that's the way it seems. If you go off of these statements from Macron, it seems like France is at war with Russia. Macron does not consider that an escalation, but a proportionate response by Paris to Moscow's actions. What has Moscow done to Paris, to France? What has Moscow done? I know a couple of things that Russia has done to France. Well, I know some things that Macron blames Russia for. France losing its position in Africa. Macron definitely blames Russia for that one. And then, of course, you have the annihilation of 60, 70, a couple of hundred, depending on what news you go by, of French mercenaries with quotes, in Kharkiv. What they were doing in Kharkiv shouldn't have been there. They should not have been there, these French mercenaries. But the story is that Russia annihilated these mercenaries at a hotel in Kharkiv. This happened about a month ago, after many warnings from Moscow to France. Get your guys out of there, your mercenaries out of there. The French are like, well, we don't have any soldiers in anywhere in the world. Actually, that was the statement from France. We don't have any French soldiers anywhere in the world. What are you talking about, Russia? But those are two things that have pissed off Macron. So an interesting statement from Macron. You know what else Macron said at this meeting? He said that if Russia advances towards Kiev or Odessa, then he will send in French troops. According to the national secretary of the French Communist Party, Fabien Roussel, Macron said this at a meeting with party leaders yesterday, Le Independent reports. According to Roussel, the French president mentioned a scenario that could trigger an intervention, the advance of the front towards Odessa or towards Kiev. What was I saying yesterday about Odessa and Mitsotakis, his appearance in Odessa, and Baerbock's appearance in Odessa, and Baerbock being chased down by a Russian drone, and Mitsotakis escaping a Russian missile strike? They're fixated on Odessa. All of a sudden, they're fixated on Odessa. You have to send collective West leaders to Odessa. And when they go to Odessa, something has to go down. Some sort of an event has to go down while they're in Odessa because they want to bring attention to Odessa. And here you have Macron telling the party leaders at this meeting that if Russia were to advance towards Odessa or Kiev, then French troops would step in. Wow. Wow, what a statement from Macron. If this is true, what a statement from Macron. So no limits, no red lines, and if the Russians advance, then France is going to enter the conflict in Ukraine. So Dmitry Medvedev, upon hearing all of these statements from Macron, he said, and I quote, "That means Russia has no more red lines left for France. In hostem omnia licita," which translates as "against the enemy, everything is allowed." So yeah, no red lines towards us. Medvedev tells Macron that means we have no red lines towards you. So when and if Russia does advance towards Odessa or Kiev, I don't know if that's going to happen or when that's going to happen, but if that does take place, will Macron send French troops into Ukraine? And if Macron sends French troops into Ukraine, they will surely, absolutely be annihilated by the Russian military. That's without a doubt, without question. The Russian military will annihilate these French troops. And then what? And then what? Does NATO get involved? It's not an Article 5 scenario, to be honest. Something like that does not trigger Article 5 by any means. But the collective West could use it as an excuse to push some sort of Article 5 action. But would the United States actually get involved if Macron were to pull this kind of a stunt, to sacrifice his military in order to escalate to a full-on war with Russia? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think Americans would be like, Macron, buddy, bro, you're on your own. But who knows? Who knows what Dark Brandon would end up doing? Anyway, that was Macron. He is talking a whole lot of smack. He needs to lay off the Aletsky number 5. He really needs to lay off the Aletsky number 5. It's really messing up his brain chemistry, isn't it? I need that Aletsky number 5. I want that Aletsky number 5. It's intoxicating. I must get close to Volodymyr Zelensky and get a whiff of that Zelensky number 5. It's making Macron crazy. It really is making Macron crazy. Zelensky number 5. It's powerful stuff. So let's do some more stories, and we'll get into our clown world for today. Let's see. Sweden is officially in NATO. It's a done deal. The 32nd country, I believe, in NATO. Sweden has officially become, yes, the 32nd member of the US-led NATO military bloc after the document formalizing Stockholm's accession entered into force on Thursday. The accession ceremony will be held in Washington, where Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson will submit his country's documents to the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken. Makes sense. Sweden is in NATO, so they're going to travel to Washington, not to Brussels, to not to Brussels NATO headquarters. They're going to travel to Washington and bow down before Antony Blinken. Yeah, makes sense. The Czech Republic, they have suspended ties with Slovakia. An interesting development. And the reason that they have suspended ties with Slovakia is over Ukraine. Czech Republic wants Slovakia to support war with Russia over Ukraine and to send money and weapons to the losing project that is Ukraine. And Robert Fico and Slovakia is saying no, no. Why would we support this losing initiative? Why would we send money to this losing initiative? Why would we risk World War III for a clown puppet comedian? That's what Robert Fico is saying. And the Czech Republic is not happy about that. So they're suspending ties over Ukraine. Really? You're going to suspend ties with Slovakia over Zelensky? Oh boy, maybe Pavel. Maybe Pavel wants some of that Zelensky #5. Maybe Pavel is itching for some Zelensky #5. Who knows? I heard Macron talking about Zelensky #5. I need to get some of that Zelensky #5. So now it's making him crazy, and he's suspending ties with Slovakia over Ukraine, bro. What are you thinking? What are you thinking, Pavel, Czech Republic? Oh man, what else? How about the news that the European Union, they approved the entry of Ukraine grain into the EU for another year without any types of barriers or tariffs or anything like that. This was approved yesterday, and it's going to last for another year. So as you have all of the farmers protesting, a lot of the protests are about the grain and the food coming from Ukraine without any tariffs or any barriers or price restrictions or anything like that. The cheap food coming to Ukraine, it's undercutting the farmers in local EU markets, and they're protesting. And what's the EU's response? We don't give an F. We don't care. We really, really don't care. And so they are going to keep the Ukraine food, the Ukraine grain, coming into the European Union for one more year. The European Union lawmakers approved on Thursday granting Ukrainian food producers tariff-free access to EU markets for another year, rejecting amendments that could have increased restrictions. Yeah, it's all about the money, money, money. They want to get some of that Ukraine food into the European Union. They're all making a lot of money off of that Ukraine food, and they're destroying local farmers. All these protests going on, huge protests in Poland just yesterday. Just yesterday, the police in Poland were clashing with protesting farmers, and things got violent. And the EU's response is renew the tariff-free access to Ukraine grain for another year. We don't care. So, since we're on the topic of the EU, let's do a clown world. And yesterday in Bucharest, we had the EPP Congress event taking place. As I mentioned in my video yesterday, the EPP is this make-believe political party. It's like an umbrella organization in the European Union, which has all kinds of EU member state parties affiliated with it. And the EPP puts up their candidate for commission president, and all the members, all the political parties that are associated with the EPP in the European Union, they support that candidate, and that person becomes the commission president. And in this case, we're talking about Ursula von der Leyen. She is the candidate that this make-believe party, the EPP, is going to nominate, or has nominated, for commission president, a second term for Ursula von der Crazy. And so it's like an umbrella organization, an umbrella party with all of the European Union parties underneath, and they support whoever they put forward as commission president. So it was a make-believe event, a make-believe Congress political party event in Bucharest, the EPP, with a make-believe political party, and Ursula was speaking at this event. So you have a make-believe candidate who's pretending to be campaigning, a make-believe campaign, and it's all about a pretend make-believe democracy because they want to make it seem like there's an actual democracy or an actual vote taking place. Ursula, the candidate, is speaking at this event, and she's campaigning to become the president once again, a second term for the European Union. It's all make believe. It's all pretend, man. It really is all pretend. And of course, you have the make believe boogeyman, which is Putin and Russia, right? And extremists as well. Extremists on the left, on the right. Anyone that doesn't agree with the Commission, with the European Union, is an extremist. That's what van der Leyen said in her speech. So the plan is money into the military-industrial complex. That's what van der Leyen said in her speech. Money, money, money to the MIC. That is her 5-year plan for EU economic growth. Ursula said Europe must spend more, must spend better, must spend European. She said that the European Union must launch the production of a new generation of weapons to win on the battlefield. To win against who? Who are you fighting against? We know who they're pretending, making believe to fight against, and that is Russia and Putin. Ursula also said that Putin's friends are trying to rewrite our history and hijack our future. They are spreading hate from behind their keyboards, and let there be no doubt what's at stake in these elections. What elections? Our peaceful and united Europe is being challenged like never before by populists, by nationalists, by demagogues, whether it's the far right or it's the far left.
And here at home, Putin's friends are trying to rewrite our history and hijack our future. They are spreading hate from behind their keyboards. And let there be no doubt what's at stake in these elections. Our peaceful and united Europe is being challenged like never before by populists, by nationalists, by demagogues, whether it's the far right or it's the far left.
The far right, the far left, anyone who doesn't go along with our ideology, those are our enemies. She went full Rishi Sunak mode. Everyone is our enemy that does not agree with our ideology. And of course, it's all Putin's fault. And we're going to give a whole lot of money to the military-industrial complex. Spend more, spend better, spend European. Ursula von der Leyen for commission president. Oh boy. That's right. War bonds, Euro bonds, direct taxation, and an EU army. And it's going to be that EU army that is going to be unleashed on the citizens of the European Union. And they are going to take care of things like farmer protests. So anyway, that's the video. Let me play a bit of Ursula's speech. Kind of a clown world. I think when you watch the video, you'll agree that this is a clown world. So I will leave it there. theduran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, ODYSEE, BitChute, Telegram, Rockfin, and Twitter X. And go to the Duran shop, pick up some merch. I've got a long sleeve, I've got a Duran bomber jacket, and hit that like button, subscribe to this channel. Take care.
Security in Europe also means doing more on our own defense. Our common goal should be very clear. We need to turbocharge our defense industrial capacity in the next 5 years. And at the heart of this must be one simple principle. Europe must spend more, Europe must spend better, and Europe must spend European. And this will help us fill the urgent need to rebuild, replenish, and modernize member states' armed forces, and to keep supporting Ukraine. And in doing so, Europe should strive to develop and manufacture the next generation of battle-winning operational capabilities. And my friends, the EPP is the party that has championed a Europe that can defend itself. And we will be the party that delivers on a defense union. And this topic needs undivided attention. And therefore, we need a designated defense commissioner for the next mandate. This is one of our EPP's deliverables.